Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. I do apologize to those of you who saw the original of this video where I was filming my alt account instead of this one. So we're talking about Relic 8s today and using the Fat Phil priority method. So I have a very different view on Relic 8s, and a lot of that is molded based on my experience. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, that it's just what I think. This is what worked for me, and this is the way that I would recommend you spend your Relic 8s because I felt it was very successful for me. So guys, like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Let's give a massive shout out to the channel members for their continued support. So again, if you're ever interested in joining, that link is down below, along with a link to the Discord server, guys. A lot of good conversation. Thank you for putting up with me and, you know, the subpar content at times, like me recording the wrong friggin' screen. What a disaster. To my, you know, those of you on the council, you have a very special place in my heart. Even if I can't fit all of you onto a single title card, I very much appreciate it. Let's get into this video. All right, Relic 8s. So, let's be clear. I think that the best thing to do with Relic 8s is to first save them for your requirements. The reason I think that is because it's a massive investment. Relic 8 is not something small. Like, it is not something you do lightly. Just to show you, I mean, it's a big deal to take a character to Relic 8. You're spending a lot of resources, right? Era magnifiers, impulse detectors, Ziminal cards, and even the signal data. It's expensive. And while it can be very transformative, you need more and more of them for these requirements. And you got to think, too, that there's Relic 9s, which to take a character to Relic 9... Sorry, I exited out for some reason. That was stupid. To take a character to Relic 9, you also need impulse detectors and era magnifiers, plus more signal data. So I can't say that you take Relic 8 that you should take it lightly, because it's something that just continues to be a big pain to farm. So requirements first, in my opinion. If there are multiple characters that you're taking to Relic 8 for that Galactic Legend or S tier fleet, you know, and I have General Skywalker here first as a good example. You take him to Relic 8 for Lord Vader along with Padme, ARC Trooper, and Count Dooku. Well, General Skywalker is by far and away the best of those characters, so you prioritize him first. So if there's multiple Relic 8s that you're looking at, prioritize the one that's going to make the biggest difference to your account first, and then kind of move on down the road. And with like Boba Fett and Piet, I would actually say you want Boba Fett at Relic 8 first before Piet, because Boba Fett gets, with Piet, he's in that Imperial Trooper team where we just need him to be fast and start a turn meter train. Where Boba Fett's going to deal a lot more damage. He's also got a ship that we can take advantage of, because while Piet's a pilot, you don't get the Executor until he's Relic 8. But you'll have Slave 1 long before you get Executor, so I think Relic 8 on Boba makes a lot of sense there first. Alright, these are not the best 5 Galactic Legends, but they are the 5 best candidates for Relic 8 because of the way that they interact with relics compared to the other Galactic Legends in the game. What I mean by that is, when you're looking at Relic 8, you need to think about the full picture. So for these guys going to Relic 8, Jedi Master Luke and Leia Organa, they're both tanks. So adding Relic 8 adds health, adds protection for them, critical avoidance. There's some really good things that get added to tanks from taking up their relics. The other reason why they're priority for Relic 8 is because they also make fantastic Relic 9s, but I think more so it's by bringing them to Relic 8, there's this Galactic Legend unique ability down here that they take reduced damage, and they have 10% max health and max protection per Relic amplifier level. With characters who are tanks already, who have a lot of base max health and protection, that 10% skyrockets. So all of a sudden, Luke and Leia get much more difficult to take out. And that's along the same lines of Lord Vader as well. While he's an attacker, he is a very tanky kit where he really wants a lot of health and protection. So with Lord Vader, having that Relic 8 for the Galactic Legend is really nice. But Relic 8 also benefits attackers way more than tanks. It's also, fun fact, the biggest jump in mastery. When you look here, going from Relic 8 to Relic 9 only offers you 10 mastery. However, if I was just to go down to, say, my Jedi Master Kenobi, the relic gain from Relic 7 to Relic 8 is 15. Relic 7 to Relic 8 is the most transformative relic level in terms of mastery. You don't gain any more mastery than you do from Relic 7 to Relic 8. And the characters who gain the most from their mastery, I feel, are right here with Luke, Leia, Lord Vader, and then Rey and Kylo. With these guys, they love the health, but more so it's the damage. Them dealing additional damage makes them much better characters, makes them much more viable, difficult to counter. Like, I can tell you my Lord Vader has gotten more holds at Relic 8 than he did at Relic 7. Like, significantly more. Rey and Kylo, I've noticed a big difference in Kylo in terms of his offensive capability, but defensively with Rey, I've noticed a lot more players struggling to go up against her with non-Galactic Legend teams. So Starkiller and whatnot, Rey really holding up well. Now, the next group of characters are your GL lifters. I think that when you're looking at Relic 8s, you want to prioritize the Galactic Legend lifters. However, there's a caveat here. Galactic Legend lifters is not maybe the best way to put this, but it's the characters that actually go with those GLs. When you think of a GL, which characters go with them the most often? So obviously you have your Commander Tano, Ben Solo, and Maul that go with their respective Galactic Legends. But think about Drogon and Jedi Knight Luke and Royal Guard and Chrysanthemum and Coors Light Leia. All of them are always with their respective Galactic Legend. So prioritizing your Relic 8s to the characters that you're most often using with the GL, the better you're making that team. And I'm going to tell you right now, I say this all the time, Chrysanthemum 100% should be Relic 8 before your Jabba. Because you cannot get, Jabba's kit does not allow you to start actually targeting him until everyone has died. So if you take Chrysanthemum to Relic 8, adding additional protection and health and armor, you're making it a longer time to get to Jabba, which means the fight's dragging on and can potentially lead your opponent to lose. So that is why you want Chrysanthemum there. And I'd argue the same thing with Coors Light Leia, that pushing her to Relic 8, she's not getting as much health. She does get a nice boost in armor, which is very awesome, actually. Like, armor's a big deal for her. But the bigger part here is her damage. Increasing the amount of damage she deals, one, means that her basic does more. But when those thermal detonators actually explode, they're dealing more damage. And that means that it's not just a matter of, oh, I've got to get through Leia because she's thick, and I've got to get through Chrysanthemum because they're thick, but now they're dealing more damage to you. Now you're dying faster. So that fight can go south very quickly if you've got high relics on these characters. And then with Royal Guard, you know, it's another situation where you're like, making him tanky just makes that team that much harder to beat without the right, you know, circumstances. And then you think of like your Drogon, Luke, Ben, Commander Tano, like increasing the damage they deal is very, very good. But then you look at like your Commander Tano and Drogon, who are very key parts to their Galactic Legends, and even Ben Solo, that by increasing their max health, you're making it harder to kill them, which means it's harder to kill the GL. So I think that you're really safe prioritizing characters like these as Relic 8, knowing they're going to benefit your GL for a very long time. And if you're trying to figure out where to draw that line, ask yourself who you're placing with that GL in 3v3, and that'll give you your answer. Next, we've got Territory Battle Operations. So I struggled putting where to put this tier, and I kind of said like, okay, I'm going to put it here and mention that it's probably going to go up above some of your GLs at times. But as the game is going on, players are going to have to take their characters to Relic 8 sooner and sooner for Rise of the Empire Territory Battle Operations. So they definitely have to be, you can't ignore them. It's going to be a thing. I would say that by the time you're, about 8 to 9 million GP is when this really kind of starts heading into the fray. Where before that, if your guild was just focusing on characters like this, you're going to be fine because a lot of these guys end up being needed at Relic 8 along with GLs themselves. And then there's a few of these outliers like our King and Snowtrooper who you may need to take to Relic 8, but you're going to want to prioritize those because they definitely help your guild get more points from operations, making combat missions easier and allowing you to get more stars. So I definitely think you want to prioritize them above some of the other luxury items that are going to be mentioned down below because they help your guild for a very long time. And honestly, they make you a much stronger recruit when looking for another guild. All right, next we have tanks and high DPS attackers. And I kind of struggled where to prioritize these. And so I kind of just threw the list here and I was like, you know what? I'll let you decide which ones are going to be more important to you. But notice that support are missing here. The reason support are missing from this list is that supports are kind of often they're like the last target in a team, right? Like they're kind of that, yeah, you know, they're there, but I'm going to take care of the tank. I got to get through the tank first, or like the attacker's the one dealing all the damage, and I'll kind of leave the support there. Like think about like if you go to like your item Versio team, how many of you are targeting ranged trooper first? Like no one is. You got to get through shore trooper or storm trooper first. Like, think about, an Imperial Trooper team. Are you targeting Dark Trooper first? Yeah, because I need to get rid of him way sooner than I need to worry about Moff Gideon at times. So it's an interesting decision to kind of come up with there. Or think of the Starkiller team, right? Who really is the biggest threat in that team? Well, Starkiller is. He's the one that's really going to destroy you. Mara Jade's obviously a problem too, but Starkiller, the real problem. He's the biggest threat. So you want to kind of prioritize it that way. So, I call it out though as high DPS attackers, and I want to make sure you understand this. High DPS attackers are the ones that it's the damage per shot, right? Like Omega, not high DPS, but Starkiller, Jedi Knight Anakin, Iden, Dark Trooper, Fennec, on their single hit, they deal a lot of damage. So, prioritizing them can make off-meta counters easier, can make them get better holds on defense, can allow you to do some things offensively that maybe you weren't able to do before. Starkiller to Relic 8 can make Rey battles significantly easier. Taking Fennec to Relic 8 can make that Lord Vader counter a lot more consistent. And then going back up to the tanks here, someone like L3, who you can use with Dash Rendar, you can throw her with Rey, you can throw, the whole mix of teams. She's a very versatile tank. So Relic 8 on her makes a lot of sense. The other character Relic 8 makes a lot of sense on is someone like Fives. Especially because he's got his sacrifice here, right? If a 501st would be defeated, right? Fives, they recover 100% health. Fives is defeated. If he's defeated, they gain his max health, protection, speed, and offense. So by taking him to Relic 8, we're increasing his protection, increasing his health, and his offense numbers, which, again, make that sacrifice all the more special. And that kind of leads into this next topic here, which is the characters who share their stats. So when you're looking at your Relic 8 list, okay, I did my tanks, right? The ones that I'm going to use the most often, the ones that really will gain the benefit. Like think of Reva, where she likes to deal damage from like her basics and stuff. Like she's a damage dealer, so she's going to do well from gaining additional offense. But the health and protection, much more significant there. Well, the other side there is the characters who share their stats. Think of Commander Luke Skywalker with Chupio. Chupio's going to share 40% of Commander Luke's stats, and then going to give half of that to the rest of the team. Well, if your Commander Luke is Relic 8, that means he's gaining more health, more offense, and everybody else gains that health, gains that offense. And that can be a big deal, right? I don't know that players fully recognize that taking him to Relic 8 can make that team significantly better, make them get more offense, which means he's sharing more of those statistics, right? That you ramp this number up and the team is going to go crazy with it. It's a lot of offense that you can be sharing with that team. Another one is Queel. Queel, if you remember, if you have a Zeta, you're going to give other droid and scoundrel allies 40% of his health, offense, potency, and protection until the first time he's defeated. Well, he's going to gain a lot of that stuff from Relic levels. So taking him to Relic 8 can be a very good decision because number one, he's going to be that much harder to kill that first time. But more than that, the rest of the team is getting 40% of Queel's stats. So now they're hitting harder. They've got more health and protection. And it drags out that fight. It makes it so much more difficult to get through that fight. So I want to pause here before we get to the next category. These are just example characters. There's plenty of other Relic 8 options out there. I tried to choose characters that I think either make sense, ones that I see very often, right? Like Baze Malbus, the reason why he can make a lot of sense for Relic 8 is because you're going to use him with Leia, but also because he can slot into a Saw Gerrera team. And the Saw Gerrera team is decent enough. I mean, they've got a really good Datacron right now, so like if you make Baze really, really difficult to get through, that can be a big problem. And then obviously like Malgus and Reva, Grand Arena Omicron characters, very, very good. But Malgus, remember, he's going to deal damage based on his max health. So the more max health that he gets, the more damage he's doing. So that's a big thing. And if you guys remember, I mentioned mastery here, right? Wanted to make sure I circled back to this at some point. Mastery, the biggest jump in mastery you get is Relic 7 to Relic 8, right? It's the biggest jump in mastery. Relic 8 to Relic 9 is only a plus 10 gain, but here it's plus 40, it's plus 15. And mastery is right here. So for Malgus, it's an increase to his armor, health, steal, protection. So you can also look at characters and figure out, okay, who's going to get the best gains from their mastery? Like Starkiller here. Critical chance, critical damage, and damage. That's really nice. He's going to critically hit more. He's going to have more critical damage, and his physical damage is going to be higher, which means he's going to deal more damage all the way around. And so, okay, I really like that. What about L3? What does she do? Armor, health, steal, protection. Okay, armor and protection. I like those two things. So you can kind of see these characters and figure out where, how is that mastery gain going to increase them? Like, look at Fennec here. Accuracy, critical chance, and damage. So accuracy can be nice, right? That's a good gain. You think about, when those dodges come into play. Critical chance, she has a very low base critical chance, so it does kind of suck. Like, I shouldn't say low, but it's not great, right? It could be better. But the damage is the real one, that if she's ramping her damage, that's when she gets crazy good. So I wanted to at least show mastery there real quick. I do want to make a guide on mastery at some point. I've just never got around to it, but you can kind of see the characters that we're looking at here are ones that by increasing that mastery and those other stats, you're making them significantly better compared to, say, someone like Moff Gideon. Like, Moff Gideon doesn't really benefit from Relic 8 because he's not there to deal damage. He's not a tank. So he's a support, right? Like, yeah, he's going to survive longer, but he's not there to do anything crazy. So that's why you prioritize the tanks and attackers. So, pilots. And I know all of you have probably been screaming at me from the rooftops about pilots. The thing with pilots is that I would prioritize your off-meta pilots before the meta. So look at the characters like Anakin, Iden, Versio, right? I would prioritize these ones right here, like the off-meta stuff, because they're going to have far more viability for you. Here's why I say that. The amount of players who are spending resources, you guys know I'm very passionate about, like, Sith Assassin, just like it's not worth it, because as long as you can get first place in your fleet arena every single day with, climbing with an off-meta, whatever, like, you're fine, because here's why. You're going to set that fleet on defense. So now your opponent brings their own Leviathan, or they try to bring an off-meta counter. Well, a lot of off-meta counters, the relic levels on the actual fleet you're going after do not make a significant difference if you're within the ballpark, right? That going up against a full Relic 8 fleet, if you've got, Relic 5s on some of these battles, does not make a significant difference, right? That Relic difference isn't making a significant difference. Because a lot of those fights where you're going up against them, it's more of an RNG type situation. Think of taking Iden, Versio, and the TIE Defender up against Executor. What you're really going after is Iden's dodge chance, right? You need this thing to dodge as much as you can. As long as it's dodging, you're going to end up winning. Doesn't matter what their relic levels are. It's really more dependent on yours. So you bring your Iden Versio up. Now you've got a better Iden to go up against another fleet. So now, and this is where it gets interesting. So they've got a high relic fleet. You've got a high relic Iden. Iden clears them no problem. Now they're going up against your fleet with an Iden who you'd say is equivalent relic levels. But that RNG factor is it's a far smaller error of margin for them, because with Iden Versio, right, if she gets killed at that low relic level, they can be done for. Like, it didn't really change. I don't know, maybe I'm not describing it the best way. It's a lot easier when I show you in person, but the big thing is that a lot of those battles, it's an RNG factor, right? Did Iden dodge or did she not? It's not really dependent on how much damage she's actually dealing. More so, is she dodging? Same situation with the Executor counter when you're going up against it with the First Order here, right? It's not so much how much damage Kylo Ren Unmasked is dealing. It's a lot more so based on, did your shuttle survive or not? Is it there to be the meat shield? So increasing relic levels on him allows this ship to stick around longer, which means that you can kill everybody else even if you don't get as good of RNG. Compared to this thing got deleted and then my Kylo Ren and mascot marked and now it's game set match, right? So I think it's a lot better to invest in the off meta stuff, because if you can get more consistent with the off meta fleets, the meta fleets get easier regardless of the relic levels. So I know at the end there I kind of tailed off. I felt like the first recording of this video might have been slightly better, but it was on the wrong account. So I apologize to everyone. I love all of you. You know, you're all amazing people. Please like and subscribe, comment. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, my friends. Again, I'm so sorry that I sucked today. You all are amazing. If you're still watching right now, go ahead and say that Wampa deserves to, like, destroy me like a tauntaun. That's probably the best way to put that. I love you guys. I'll see you. Cheers.